Whistleblower. The glass elevator climbed the side of the Beau Rivage Tower like a transparent bullet. Geneva spread out below, in a grid of yellow streetlights and black water. Brill Wingfield watched the floors tick past, 37, 38, 39, while checking his equipment one last time. Sig Sauer under his left arm, tactical knife on his belt, lock picks in his jacket pocket, and a small medical kit because Carver had been specific about the target's condition. Heart attack waiting to happen, Carver's voice buzzed through the earpiece. Dr. Marcus Webb, 62, Chief Pharmaceutical Officer for Helix Industries. Stress, bad diet, family history. Popping nitro pills like candy. The elevator stopped at 41. Brill stepped into a hallway that smelled like expensive carpet and quiet money. Webb's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the building, the kind of space pharmaceutical executives bought with markup on cancer drugs. Corporate assassination team is en route, Carver continued. 4 professionals, maybe 5. ETA 30 minutes, give or take. They want Webb dead before he can testify about the clinical trial data he's been sitting on. Brill found the penthouse door. Solid oak with electronic locks and a security camera that tracked his movement. He smiled at the lens and pressed the doorbell. Dr. Webb. My name is Michael Collins. I'm with the Justice Department. We need to get you to safety immediately. The intercom crackled. Webb's voice came through thin and nervous. I wasn't expecting anyone until morning. Plans changed, Doctor. The people you're worried about moved up their timeline. We have maybe 20 minutes before they arrive. Silence. Then the sound of multiple locks disengaging. The door opened to reveal a short, heavy-set man in a burgundy bathrobe, gray hair sticking up at odd angles. Dr. Marcus Webb looked like someone who hadn't slept in a week. Dark circles under bloodshot eyes, hands shaking as he clutched a rocks glass half full of what smelled like expensive scotch. You don't look like Justice Department, Webb said. I don't look like a lot of things. Brill stepped inside and closed the door behind him. But right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and a very unpleasant conversation with some very unpleasant people. The penthouse stretched out like a museum exhibit on pharmaceutical wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Lake Geneva. Modern art that probably cost more than most people's houses. A marble bar with enough liquor to stock a nightclub. Webb shuffled toward the living room, scotch sloshing in his glass. They killed Jennifer Morrison yesterday. Made it look like a car accident. Jennifer was just a data analyst. She didn't even know what the numbers meant. What do the numbers mean? Webb sank into a leather chair that could have doubled as a small aircraft. HELIX 47. Wonder drug for early-stage Alzheimer's. Except, it doesn't work. Makes things worse, actually. Accelerates cognitive decline in 60% of patients. But the initial trials looked promising because we only tracked the first 6 months. So you buried the data. For 2 years. Webb's hands shook worse now. He set the glass down before he dropped it. 1,200 people in the extended trials. Families thinking their loved ones were getting better while their brains turned to mush. Brill moved to the windows and looked down at the street. No unusual activity yet, but that would change. Where's the evidence? Everything's on encrypted drives. Hidden in 3 locations around the city. Insurance policy. Webb fumbled in his robe pocket and produced a small pill bottle. Nitroglycerin. My lawyer has copies too, but they got to him last week. Heart attack in his office. 48 years old, ran marathons. A sound echoed from the elevator shaft. The soft whir of cables and counterweights. Brill drew his weapon. That your building security? Security doesn't come up here unless I call. Webb struggled to his feet. Jesus. They're early. The elevator stopped at the penthouse level. Brill grabbed Webb's arm and pulled him toward the back of the apartment. Is there another way out? Service elevator by the kitchen. Goes down to the parking garage. Show me. They moved through the penthouse while footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Professional footsteps, measured, careful, coordinated. At least 3 people, maybe 4. The kitchen looked like something from a cooking show. Granite counters, industrial appliances, knife blocks with German steel. Webb led him to a narrow door beside the wine cooler. This goes down too. The front door exploded inward with a sound like breaking thunder. Brill shoved Webb behind the kitchen island and raised his weapon toward the living room. 3 figures moved through the smoke and debris. Black tactical gear, automatic weapons, faces hidden behind masks. They spread out in a practiced pattern, covering angles and exits. Dr. Webb, one of them called. Female voice, American accent. We just want to talk. Brill put 2 rounds, center mass, into the nearest figure. The woman spun and dropped behind the leather chair Webb had been sitting in minutes earlier. Return fire shattered the granite countertop above their heads. Stone chips flew like shrapnel. Webb pressed himself against the floor, hyperventilating. Doctor, Brill whispered. The drives. Where exactly? Safety deposit box at Credit Suisse. Locker at the train station. And Webb clutched his chest. His face had gone gray. Oh God. Not now. The pill bottle scattered across the floor. Tiny white tablets like scattered stars. More gunfire erupted from the living room. They were advancing, using the furniture for cover. Brill counted muzzle flashes. At least 4 shooters, maybe 5. Too many for a straight fight in an enclosed space. He grabbed 2 nitro pills from the floor and forced them under Webb's tongue. Stay with me, doctor. Where's the 3rd drive? Hidden in my desk at the office. Webb's breathing came in short gasps. But the building's locked down at night. Electronic security, guards, cameras. Brill looked at the service door. It was their only way out, but Webb could barely stand, let alone run. And even if they made it to the parking garage, the assassination team would have people covering the exits. Unless they didn't make it that far. He studied the kitchen. Gas range, industrial grade. Full propane tanks for the outdoor grill on the terrace. Bottles of high-proof liquor on the counter. Sometimes the best way out was through. Can you walk? Webb nodded, though his face said otherwise. Brill helped him to his feet and opened the service door. A narrow stairwell led down into darkness. Emergency lighting cast everything in sick red. They started down the stairs. Behind them, the assassination team had reached the kitchen. Voices coordinating the search, professional and calm. 2 floors down, Brill stopped. He could hear movement above and below. They had people in the stairwell. Classic pincer move. He tried the door at the 39th floor. Locked, but the lockpicks made quick work of it. They slipped into another hallway, this one serving regular apartments. Expensive regular apartments, but not penthouse expensive. We need to get back upstairs, Brill said. Are you insane? They think we're running down. Give me your keys. Webb fumbled in his robe pocket and produced a ring with a dozen keys. Building access, parking garage, office, apartment spares. They took the main elevator back up to 41. The doors opened to reveal the penthouse hallway filled with smoke. Someone had used a breaching charge on Webb's door, and the explosion had set off the sprinkler system. Brill moved fast through the flooded hallway. The assassination team was still in the stairwell, coordinating the hunt. He slipped back into the penthouse through the destroyed front door. The living room looked like a war zone. Furniture overturned, windows cracked, spent brass on the marble floor. But the kitchen was what he needed. He turned on all the gas burners and opened the oven door. No flame. Gas hissed into the air like angry snakes. He opened the propane tanks from the grill and rolled them into the living room. More gas, building pressure. Then he opened every bottle of high-proof alcohol he could find and poured them across the floor. Cognac, vodka, absinthe, some Swiss schnapps that smelled like paint thinner. The gas smell was overwhelming now. One spark would turn the penthouse into a crematorium. Footsteps in the stairwell. They were coming back up, probably wondering why their prey had disappeared. Brill grabbed a bottle of champagne from the bar and backed toward the terrace. Dom Perignon, 1996. Webb probably paid more for it than most people made in a month. The first assassin came through the destroyed door with his weapon ready. Brill was already outside on the terrace, 40 floors above Lake Geneva. He held up the champagne bottle so they could see it, then smashed it against the metal railing. Sparks flew from the impact. The penthouse exploded like the hand of God. The blast wave knocked Brill against the terrace railing. Heat washed over him in a wave that singed his eyebrows and turned the air to liquid fire. Glass blew out of every window, glittering in the streetlights like falling stars. When the smoke cleared, the penthouse was gone. Just a black hole in the side of the building, structural beams twisted like broken fingers. Brill's ears rang like church bells. He tested his limbs, everything worked. His jacket was scorched and his hair smelled like sulfur, but he was alive. The service elevator still functioned. He rode it down to the parking garage where Webb waited beside a silver Mercedes, clutching his chest but breathing. "Jesus Christ," Webb said. "You blew up my apartment. Insurance will cover it." Brill helped him into the passenger seat. "We need to get those drives before anyone else figures out where they are." They drove through Geneva in the pre-dawn darkness while sirens wailed behind them. Fire trucks, ambulances, police, the whole emergency response apparatus converging on the Beau Rivage Tower like antibodies attacking an infection. Credit Suisse was a fortress of glass and steel in the financial district. Even at 4 in the morning, security guards patrolled the lobby with the dedication of people who understood that money never slept. "Dr. Webb," the guard said. "Working late again. Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd check on some documents." They rode the elevator down to the vault level. Rows of safety deposit boxes stretched into the distance like metallic graves. Webb's box was number 1247, near the back. Inside, a single encrypted drive the size of a matchbook. 2 years of clinical data, Webb said. 1,200 patients. Names, addresses, medical histories. Everything Helix Industries doesn't want the world to see. The train station was easier. Webb had a locker in the main terminal, hidden among hundreds of identical metal boxes. Travelers and insomniacs wandered the concourse like lost souls. The second drive went into Brill's jacket pocket. "The office building," Webb said as they walked back to the car. "That's going to be harder. Helix has security that would make the Pentagon jealous." "We'll see." Helix Industries occupied a glass tower in the Science District, all clean lines and corporate confidence. But it was also old money, built in the 1980s when electronic security meant cameras and card readers. Before biometrics, before facial recognition, before the paranoid digital surveillance that came after. Brill studied the building from the parking lot. 12 floors, maybe 2 guards in the lobby, cameras at the obvious points. He could see light in several office windows, cleaning crews or insomniacs or people who had gotten the same call Webb had gotten. "5th floor," Webb said. "Corner office. The drive is taped under my desk drawer. Wait here." Brill approached the building from the side, where the landscaping provided cover from the street cameras. A loading dock served the ground floor. Industrial doors, concrete ramps, the kind of utilitarian space where security focused on keeping people out rather than tracking people in. The lock on the dock door was older than his car. He had it open in 30 seconds. Service corridors led to the main lobby. Brill avoided the elevators and took the fire stairs, counting floors by the numbers stenciled on the doors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth-floor hallway smelled like carpet cleaner and ambition. Corner offices for the executives, cubicles for the worker bees, conference rooms where people made decisions about other people's lives. Webb's office was at the end of the hall. Dr. Marcus Webb, Chief Pharmaceutical Officer. The door was locked, but executive locks were designed to keep out corporate espionage, not professional break-ins. The office looked like a medical textbook had exploded. Charts and graphs covered every wall, showing molecular structures and clinical trial results and profit projections. A bookshelf held medical journals going back decades. The desk was buried under paper, reports, memos, correspondence with regulatory agencies. Brill found the drive taped under the bottom drawer, exactly where Webb had said. A third encrypted matchbook, no bigger than a piece of gum. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Brill moved to the window. 5th floor, maybe 60 feet to the parking lot below. Too far to jump, too high for most ladders. But the building's facade offered ledges and architectural details that might support a careful climber. The footsteps stopped outside Webb's door. Brill opened the window and swung his legs over the sill. The night air was cold against his face. Geneva spread out below like a circuit board, all lights and geometric patterns. He lowered himself to the ledge below Webb's window. Decorative stone, maybe 6 inches wide, designed by architects who never expected anyone to stand on it. His fingers found purchase in the building's concrete facade. A flashlight beam swept across Webb's office windows above him. Brill worked his way along the ledge toward the corner of the building. 40 feet of careful movement, testing each handhold before committing his weight. The city lights made everything surreal, shadows and reflections and the distant sound of traffic. At the corner, a drainage pipe ran down the building's side. Old cast iron, anchored to the wall with metal brackets. It felt solid under his weight. He rappelled down the pipe hand over hand, using his feet against the wall for control. 4th floor, 3rd, 2nd ground level. His shoes hit concrete with barely a sound. Webb was waiting in the Mercedes, engine running. All 3 drives, Brill said, getting into the passenger seat. Now what? Brill looked at his watch, 5:23 a.m. Now we disappear you, before anyone else figures out what happened tonight. They drove toward the lake while the eastern sky began to lighten. A speedboat waited at a private marina, sleek and fast and anonymous. Carver's work, he always had an exit strategy. Where are we going? Webb asked, as they boarded the boat. Somewhere safe. You'll testify, the drives will reach the right people, and 1,200 families will get the justice they deserve. Brill started the engines and pointed the bow toward open water. Behind them, Geneva was waking up to sirens and smoke, and the kind of news that made pharmaceutical stocks crash. Webb sat in the passenger seat, clutching the 3 encrypted drives like prayer beads. Will it make a difference? It will make a difference. The speedboat cut across Lake Geneva toward the French shore. By the time the sun cleared the mountains, they would be gone, and the drives would be in the hands of people who understood what justice looked like. Behind them, the Helix Industries building stood like a monument to corporate arrogance. But monuments, Brill knew, were just stones waiting for the right person to knock them down.